This video shows how to perform the clustering itself on our files. So now we have our custom labels created. We can go to the ClusterLogic tab, and this is where we will run the cluster algorithm. So in this case, I want to cluster only my experimental files. I don't want to run the clustering over my isotype controls or FMOs. We just need to use these to set gates based on where positive marker expression begins. So to build clusters, we choose the Builder tab within ClusterLogic and the Cluster tab within this left-hand window. Here we can make some settings for the files to be clustered and the events within each file to be clustered. In this case, I want to cluster the selected files. So here I have highlighted all of the files that I want to cluster and choose selected files. In events to be clustered, you can choose to cluster on a defined number of events, for example 10,000, and this will be incredibly quick. You'll get quite an accurate depiction of the percentages of each population within the total data set, but in this case I will choose to cluster on all events. So this will run down and cluster on the total number of events within each sample. Once these settings have been made, click Build Clusters. We'll then get a window that allows you to select which parameters you will use to perform the clustering. By default, time is excluded, and generally you could use all of the parameters that are saved in the files. And we can ignore the phenotype and the positive MFI values for now, as we'll come back and use that once the clusters have been identified. From here, click Build Clusters, and then a pop-up window will show that FlowLogic is building the clusters, and that if we want to cancel this process, simply close the window. But I'll let this run. It will go through all of the samples, and this window will disappear once the process has finished. And this process might take minutes or hours, depending once again on the complexity and the number of events within each file.